2016, and March 29th, 2016.
Mr. Chairman, I recommend approval of the minutes of March 22nd and March 29th as modified.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None? The next is approval not required plans. Do we have anything submitted, Mr. Friend? Nope.
None today.
None today. Moving forward, the next item on the agenda is public discussion. Applicant Eileen Rodriguez, preliminary plan consisting of 28.8 acres of land to be subdivided into 7 lots with 24 multifamily dwellings located at 0 and 375 Sandwich Road, Holmes and McGrath. For the applicant.
Mr. Chair, I have to excuse myself on this project.
Notices.
Mr. Chairman, 45 abutters were notified by regular mail.
Ken. Ken. You have to leave? You have to leave the room.
Yeah, he has to leave the room.
Bad news, you gotta leave the room. No facial expressions.
Hey, thanks.
You can watch it on TV. Okay, so, we've read the notices. For the applicant, we have Holmes and McGrath. Identify yourself.
Yes, my name is Michael McGrath. I'm a registered engineer and professional land surveyor, and my office drew this plan. This parcel is located north of the Tanglewood subdivision off of Sandwich Road. Tanglewood comes in, and there's a loop, and there's a house here that I have colored in yellow. This is going to be separate from the provision for an open space residential development because we cannot meet the dimensional standards of the minimum distance for a lot or a road from the perimeter. So I've shown it different colored, and I highlighted the area that we're applying for. This is in an agriculture B zoning district, and what we have done is when we did an analysis here, the best possible use is basically providing a planned residential development with 4 units on each of the 6 lots. I believe that the site design satisfies the criteria of the bylaw in that we have set aside significant buffers. There are depressions that are set aside in the open space, and we've created large blocks of open space. There's about 69% of the site is open space. We show a proposed road that comes in an arc and with a cul-de-sac, and it's 1,300 feet from here, so we would have to apply for a waiver of your requirements. Your subdivision regulation says that the road can only go about to this point, and obviously it's difficult. While there is a stub of Harris Hill Road way up in this area, that's a private road. It's not a public road, and it would be, we probably could construct a driveway up to it, but we couldn't really connect to it. We can't go across the property line because it's a private road.
Excuse me, Mr. McGrath, I have a point of order I need to ask for another thing. I thought we were going to have all presentations going forward shown on the projector on the screen so everyone could see it at home, and I thought that was our policy. And what happened tonight?
We don't have that here. It's maybe your policy, but it's up to the applicant to provide the information to the board. We don't have that.
Well, that has been what we've been doing for the last few hearings, and are we reversing that now?
I think once we get to the board's rules and regulations and make them rules and regulations,
So right now, it's
then you
just
can
a
enforce it.
recommend. I'm not trying to force it, I was just asking a question so the people at home could see it.
It's a recommendation.
Because this is not visible in the last few hearings, that's what we had. Okay,
But right now, it's something we ask the applicant to provide. If it's not here, it's really, how much the board can do.
so we're going to suspend that practice and continue for the board members and looking?
Yeah.
Okay. All set?
I think we have to.
Just, we started that about 3
So-
or 4 hearings ago, requiring everyone to bring a projector and show it so that people could see it at home.
I wasn't aware of that, to be blunt, so
Next
I
time,
would
I'll
have been
hold you to
happy-
that. Next time, I'll hold you to it.
I'd be happy to bring a PowerPoint next time.
Thank you. I just wanted to bring it up. Thank you. Go ahead.
And-
Sorry.
In any case, I believe that this is superior. We did give you copies of a grid subdivision that was prepared by another firm that documents that we could get these amount of lots. And it does lie within a stabilization area of one of our estuaries. So we will have to address the nitrogen. There is a bunch of comments from the staff report. The plan that I've given you shows Pinewood Lane across the street, and we added a few details. We are showing drainage systems that are basically leaching into the ground. There was a comment about removing the leaching from here. I don't understand it, but we can talk about that with the staff later on. So I believe that, they also asked that the circles be given or shown, and I have given you a plan with the circles shown that's colored. So I'd be happy to submit that, not that these revisions are not really significant in the long run. But I'm here to answer any questions you might have concerning this.
I have a question. Jim,
Yes, go ahead.
could you explain to me how the grid plan meets the requirements? I don't understand how you have frontage.
Well, it was drawn by another firm. I don't have a copy with me, but if I could look at it, I'd be happy to explain it.
Drawn by you.
That's a graph.
I believe this conforms to zoning in that the minimum lot size is 40,000 square feet. Every lot has 40,000 square feet. The minimum frontage is 125. Every lot that I look at has over 125 feet of frontage on these roads, and the minimum lot width is 125 feet. They all appear to have a width of over 145 feet. So my opinion is that this plan shows lots that conform to zoning.
Okay, so that'll be a regular road, not a shared drive.
This shows a potential roadway 40-foot wide that runs down the center. For the benefit of the audience, there's a grid plan that runs down, there's a cul-de-sac, and then a connection to that road. And they have 25 conforming lots on the plan.
And so there's then no requirement of having frontage to Sandwich Road with this road, is that correct then?
When we drew this plan, remember, you have a setback for all roads and all lots in a cluster. So we cannot do that without tearing that house down. So what we're going to end up doing is drawing one plan that shows this site, and then I have simultaneously filing another plan that shows the planned residential development that conforms to zoning.
Okay, so I guess my question is then, the road, you don't have to have ownership of the land on either side of the road there at the entrance to Sandwich Road to create the road, is that?
You have a subdivision no, we can create this road. You have a subdivision regulation that says where it abuts someone else's land. It's 60-foot wide for the first 200 feet.
Right.
And then it's 40-foot wide road, just like it is. The regulation says you offset the pavement so that there is more apparent space to the abutting lot line.
Okay.
So I believe this conforms to your regulation about building or designing a proposed road next to a lot line.
Even given the fact that that property is excluded, that has no bearing on the,
No bearing whatsoever.
okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, that's this piece up here. That's this. I was just wondering what that. What is this, something that's passed to us while we're at the table here?
Oh, I wanted to show you the abutting. I submitted a copy of this subdivision plan. It's not clear, but there's some open space there that we connect to. In other words, at the end of Harris Hill Road, while it touches, there's actually 40-foot open space here and there, and I was just trying to illustrate to you where Harris Hill Road came in. That's a copy of the recorded plan from the registry.
So this goes here.
I gave you 2 copies.
No, I was just trying to see how it fits under this plan and connect it to.
The property owner shown down the bottom,
Yeah.
Rodriguez.
Are there any other questions I can answer?
Right there, that's it, lays in just like that. Okay, I got it. It just showed up, I wanted to understand. Does anyone else need to see this? Okay, we'll go that way and we'll come back. Yes, Ralph?
Yeah. Yes, Mr. McGrath, you're proposing denitrification cluster denitrification for the development?
What the planning board requires is that we meet the provision of the zoning bylaw concerning land that's within a stabilization area, and we have to address the total nitrogen from the site, and so most likely we'll have to have some denitrification.
Okay, so that's has no connection to your being in the coastal pond overlay?
No, we have to meet the requirements
Okay,
of the coastal pond overlay, so we most likely will have to have denitrification systems.
okay, that's good. All right. Thank you.
Ken's not here. Anybody else, any other comments?
There's a lot of open items on the staff report.
Well, I just got the staff report today.
This is a
so-
preliminary discussion?
And the preliminary is supposed to
Right,
have us
going
go back and forth.
Yeah,
And one of the staff reports is about the special permit, and I haven't applied for the special permit, obviously. The only thing we're talking about is the planned residential development. I mean, the preliminary plan showing the roads and lots. In order for you to approve this, there has to be a definitive and a special permit application, and we've not got to that point yet.
and the only thing I want to reiterate, right, and now I guess it's just a request that everything be done on PowerPoint, but we would like to see it in the next, as soon as we can. I think do we have to make it a rule, Brian?
Yeah, you should make it a rule. But I just want to take a couple steps back. If the board members have completed their questions, I
I asked everybody.
Well, no,
Okay, you have more?
yes. Could you explain to me how the 4 units apply in the, is it because you're using the cluster?
Yes.
Right.
Yes, there's a specific provision in your planned residential development. You could do single families, you could do families up to 4 units per lot. You have to identify that there's multi-families, and then the provisions are slightly different. There's more open space if you do planned multifamily versus single family. Single family is only 50%.
And is there any other waivers that you're going to be looking for besides the length of the road?
I believe that's the only waiver of the subdivision regulations that we'd be asking for.
Anybody else, any more questions?
This one from, Mike, can you explain again why Lot A is out of the subdivision again for me?
Yes, I want to get my bottle off. The planning board has sent to town meeting suggested bylaw that promotes planned residential development, and that's under provisions 240-121 through, 240-133 or something, 139. 240-127 says setbacks for lot lines and roadways from the perimeter of the total parcel shall be no less than 25 feet, unless the planning board determines greater setbacks are required to fill the intent of the bylaw. So I look at that as that I cannot go less than 25 feet. So I cannot make 25 feet all the way around that rim and preserve that home site. So that was my thought.
But the definitive plan would modify the lot A.
What I will do is put one definitive plan that shows the road and the house on one definitive plan, then have a separate definitive plan for the PRD, Planned Resident Development.
Okay, thank you.
Don't we already have a provision that you only have to have the setback from one street if you're on a corner?
No, that's a setback from a principal residence in a residential zone. That's a setback from the street. There's nothing to do with this type of setback.
Okay.
And just, the grid plan is the basis of your calculation of the density. If it's drawn by others, then I'll talk to Mike about certifying certain things on the plan. That's how you get to the baseline calculation.
I didn't really realize that. Okay, we have two different engineers here. I had looked at these earlier and didn't catch that. Okay, everyone else have other, this is a preliminary plan, this is for feedback from both staff and board. And I want to, I guess, I don't know if we can't require it yet, but I thought we had, but I guess what Brian's telling me, we have to vote on it. But I would definitely like to see everything in a PowerPoint presentation so people at home can see this. That's the whole reason for it. So going forward, the next time, everything you bring forward, we'll do that?
Yes, I've been away, so I was not aware of this. So,
Yes, Paul?
Do I see 3 hydrants proposed?
we did exactly what I believe the fire department requires by swinging arcs around the proposed sites and making sure there's a hydrant within a certain number of feet. Obviously, we're just starting communication. The fire department hasn't seen it.
Well, I sure like the amount of open space.
And I liked I think as I saw this, yes, is there, we looked at this, Brian, there was other open space this connects to? Yep,
That's Mr. DuPont's gravel pit to the
Very
north.
close to the cranberry bog there.
right. But that was we've dealt with that before for developments that didn't have open space, and that's a favorable thing, that at least it connects, so that was a good thing.
And the fire department has reviewed the plans at the preliminary level and has no concerns at this time.
As shown on the plan, okay?
Can I have one more?
Sure.
Do you anticipate allowing public to cross that land, the open space?
I doubt it. The reason I say that is when I did work, not here, but a little bit further to the east, there was a lot of trouble with children on dirt bikes. So I'm not sure that it's appropriate to have kids on dirt bike in open space myself.
But
But it's
all-
something we can discuss some further.
But
Yeah.
all the homeowners will definitely have access to all the open space whenever they're.
Your requirement is that each one of them have an undivided interest,
Absolutely.
and there is covenants that have to be signed so that they know that, and you know, that the open space is going to be controlled by the homeowners association, and they have to pay the taxes and maintain it.
They don't necessarily have to allow the neighbors on the next street over to cut through, which they've been doing forever. I'm just curious of what the intent was.
Does anyone from the
I put
public?
a fence up.
Oh, quiet, please. You need to, I was just about to ask.
Yeah.
If anyone from the public would like to speak, and if you would, we would like you to come up, identify yourself, and speak. But please don't shut out from the audience, please. We'll lose control.
Yeah.
Are we ready for the, okay, anyone, yes, would you like to speak? Please come up.
I'm Marjorie Parmenter, a homeowner and taxpayer at 36 Meredith Drive for 16 years now, and one of the abutters. And I'm Mike Shy, so I'm going to be reading this. My concern is exactly how much clear cutting is going to be done in the center part of this decades-old habitat parcel, and how much, if any, clearing of the perimeter zones and the corners around the 6 lots will be clear cut, especially along the south-facing perimeter. Along the south side, there's a very narrow 25-foot strip of woods indicated between the back of lots 4, 5, and 6 and the backyards of several Meredith Drive homes. This is also the case for lots 1, 2, and 3 on the north side, but I can't tell from the map that I've seen where the houses are, if any. The lot lines for 4, 5, and 6, in my opinion, show a lack of sensitivity for the negative impact that this proximity will bring to the Meredith abutters and to the existing wildlife in this mixed habitat. I'm asking for the assurance of the planning board that as much existing forest and low brush be preserved as possible by the builder during construction and by the Lot Owners Association after construction. To support this request, I have 3 points and 1 concluding statement. In my own backyard abutting the Rodriguez Woods, I have observed at least 2 generations of the striking eastern box turtle crawling out of the leaf litter in the adjacent woods into my yard for worms. This parcel is a prime habitat for them. 25 feet is about the length of this room, maybe 2 car lengths. That's hardly wide enough to sustain a viable corridor and passageway for ground-dwelling birds like quail, grouse, and bobwhite that make nests in the ground and rely on cover for camouflage, and for crawling animals like the eastern box turtle that move around and need a space.
Excuse me,
I
you
just
need
want
to
to point that right there, right here. This is what I'm talking
You
about.
need to stay near the mic or bring
Oh,
it
I'm
with
so
you.
sorry. According to a report in 2011, the Mass Fisheries and Game Conservation Plan, the box turtle is classified as vulnerable, which is a term used on the extinction scale. The box turtle is cryptic. It seeks protection in low growth and leaves, and the adults have to survive at least 16 years before they can even reproduce. Their biggest human predator is the crush of heavy equipment wheels as well as ATVs and dirt bikes, and then followed by the building of new roads and traffic. The middle third of this development is already going to be cleared of forest and have a long road splitting the center. This is going to end up fragmenting the box turtle's habitat. It will hinder their movement in November from wet bogs, Coonamessett Bog, to dry ground for overwintering and for finding seasonal nesting places in the spring. Thus, I am again asking for a widening of the 25-foot corridor to 50 feet or more to give these animals a fighting chance for survival. My next 2 comments concern human beings, and specifically increased noise pollution and light pollution. For decades, the woods behind our Meredith Drive homes has been a noise buffer. The growth and canopy combination absorb the traffic sounds from Sandwich Road, and in winter with no leaves and the wind from the north, I think everybody notices that the traffic sounds are much louder. So after this parcel is gutted of trees in the center of it and developed, I'm concerned that the noise of Sandwich Road traffic will not only be louder, but ever-present, 24/7, not to mention the sounds of urban living. My third point is along with this long access road and 24 clustered homes will be towering streetlights and backyard floodlights. Thus, more light pollution is brought to the neighbors and to Falmouth. Preserving a wider forest apron along the Meredith Drive side would help block our views of one another's yards and lights and preserve our privacies. Sleepers benefit at night from low light and darkness. Many Meredith Drive homeowners like myself don't have air conditioning in the summer, and we have to leave our back windows open. A wider strip would help mitigate this problem. In conclusion, my first point was concerning preserving avenues for wildlife. The other 2 points concern people. I think that the good news is that by making a minor adjustment to your lot lines, all of these can be improved and everyone will benefit, both the current Meredith Drive residents and the future residents of the Rodriguez parcel. It's doable at this early stage. It's just a matter of reconfiguring the lot dimensions for more breathing room. By pushing the shapes out a small amount eastward, it still preserves the same total open area of space that has been calculated. Now, people not directly involved in this meeting may not think they're impacted, but my feeling is that everyone who lives in Falmouth and on the Cape is impacted each and every time a prime native habitat is destroyed and replaced with urban development. Wildlife, such as the eastern box turtle, can be preserved by habitat management, monitoring, and research. Has anyone considered setting up a box turtle stewardship plan for the proposed open space by contacting our local land bank committee, the 300 committee? I just want to thank the planning board for my time here tonight.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any others?
Yes.
Please step up.
My name is Jim O'Hare. I'm also one of the abutting neighbors. Just a quick question, because I've not really gone through this process before, but I had this notice 5 days prior
Could
to
you
the
turn the
meeting.
mic a little towards you, please?
Is that normal, just 5 days prior to the meeting, or is it,
Normal that you got it. That's the important thing.
is it on a 30-day or 2-week, or as long as I got it? That's what's acceptable?
You got it's good.
Okay, fair enough.
This is a preliminary hearing.
I understand.
Okay, there's got to be more hearings.
So I should just
Pay
expect a
attention.
3 to 5 day,
You've
one a
been
day?
notified, watch our agendas, read the paper, you've been notified this is going on.
Okay, so originally, I understand there was the grid proposal, and then on the notice, there was 7 lots with 24 multifamily dwelling units, and I guess this is a 6th lot, or did you say that now it is 7 because of the front lot? Is that accurate? I'm new to this, so I'm just trying to understand.
I thought I heard we're going to have 2 subdivision plans, one and one 6. Is that correct?
Yes. Lot A.
So there's this one, the grid, and then another one?
Mr. McGrath, why don't you answer the question?
What I described to the planning board is there has to be one plan that shows the house and enough of the road to get past this, about this point. Then, after that gets filed, there'll be an application for a special permit and approval of this road. So there's gonna be 2 plans to get this project approved.
All right, and then, I'm sorry, and this right, these power lines, what is that?
That's a power line, yes.
All right, thank you. And these, since you mentioned the homeowners association, this is a condo?
Excuse me, ask our questions to us, please.
Since the HMA was mentioned, these are condos with a homeowners association?
We don't know yet. Any single-family home could have a homeowners association. The form of ownership is a structure that comes up later.
Okay. All right, so again, for clarification, this proposed plan is just one way in, same way, one way out, so there's nothing going all the way through.
That's what we see so far. yeah.
All right, and then again, for clarification for the house, I'm 371, so I'm right next to this lot. And I thought the gentleman had said that it's a 60-foot from my property for the beginning of the road to, and that length is 120 feet, and then it goes to 40?
I don't mean to block, but
We have the plan.
the road here is 60-foot wide. Normally, the road is 40-foot wide. The extra space of the 16 feet is put on this side so that there's a slightly greater visual buffer to the new between the pavement and the abutting lot line.
Can I ask the gentleman from the end of my property, which is 371, how close this road is now going to be? And my apologies, I didn't get a chance
Go
to
ahead,
review the
Mr.
plan.
McGrath, yes.
5 days.
There's 27 feet more or less between the edge of the pavement and the street line.
I'm here, so from the end of
You're here, aren't you?
371?
No, down below.
Oh, you're down below. Oh, then it's on the other side of the house. There's the existing house.
Oh, I'm sorry, all right, so
Where
from,
that bend is. Where the bend is over here.
right here.
So it looks like about
This is right
69
here.
feet from your lot line to the road.
Okay.
So the width of lot A is what we're looking at.
It's 93 or 94 feet along the front of the house.
All right, so my apologies, so this is the existing home? Okay.
Yes.
It's not even you, yeah.
Right, well, I'm right next to it, but you're right, that's not my home, but still, you know, we are gonna be impacted obviously by this traffic, so just trying to understand what's going on, since I hadn't had the opportunity to review this. So I think just from a question and answer standpoint, those are at least some of my preliminary questions. I'll obviously watch for the mail, notices, read the paper for your recommendation and suggestion. And I thank you for your time. Did you have anything?
Can I ask you a question, Chairman?
Yes.
Will he be getting more mail? Or does he have to watch the newspaper and?
Let me explain the process, Mr. Chairman, so
Please
the
do.
audience knows exactly what's going to happen in the future if this progresses to a definitive plan. This is what's known as a preliminary plan of land. It's not recordable, it's not appealable, it can be on paper and pencil. It's an opportunity for the planning board to discuss items with the property owner and their engineers. It's an opportunity for you to discuss your concerns with the planning board. They may take this plan and come back and do another preliminary plan. Once they file for a definitive plan and a special permit, abutters and abutters to abutters within 300 feet will be notified by certified mail. You will get that 2 weeks prior to the hearing. And it'll be advertised in a newspaper of general circulation at least 2 weeks beforehand, too. So don't feel as though you have to read the paper or watch the news or whatever. You can email the planning office. You can get on their agenda list. But those of you who have are parties of interest will get noticed by certified mail. And that's when the rubber hits the road. That's a real permit. The board has certain timeframes in which they must make a decision, and that decision is appealable to the Superior Court.
Very good, thank you.
Yep.
Good end. Good end.
Go ahead, identify yourself.
Tanya Lewandowski, I'm at 363 Sandwich Road. I've had a farm there for 19 years. So I am actually abutting my neighbor, Mr. O'Hare. So I appreciate, Mr. Fox, that you actually said something about we have 2 neighbors that are actually shut-ins that wanted to actually attend, and they were unable to. So the PowerPoint would be very appreciative. So I wanted to thank you for that opportunity. I also did not have enough time to actually prepare something with a short-term notice, but again, with the education of being understanding what the process is a little bit more, I appreciate that time as well. But as a scientist, my doctoral work is actually in wetlands and fisheries biology. I will appreciate your statements to that, because I have actually seen quite a few box turtles. I didn't want to say anything because I don't want Audubon in my backyard. However, I have snowy owls nesting in the backyard, and I have photographic evidence for that as well, which is timelined. It's not that I want to close any opportunities off for better housing for the town. I've, again, been a very livid taxpayer and person that was also in the service, which is why I came here initially, and now I work for NOAA. However, that has nothing to do with what my stance is. I'm very concerned about the wildlife corridors that will be appeased or deleteriously actually affected. You don't see turkey, deer, snowy owl, box turtle, other protected species. I've actually had even snappers, which I don't prefer in my backyard. However, yes, they are there. They actually have nesting habitat there because there are kind of kettle hole areas there. I did a lot of work for Otis, for some of their wetlands habitat and some of their work with sparrow work and so forth, and tried to help when we were redoing Crane's work, which is another situation. However, so my concern is there for that, and I'm very concerned about also the population increase. It was a 35 mile an hour, oil road when I moved there. I understand things change. We didn't have traffic lights, really. Street lights, well, we can get those fixed anyway, so that's fine. But there is a lot of light problems. There are a lot of noise problems, a lot of pollution issues that people don't always think about, and I'm very concerned about the water table. And that is something of my personal drive for this town that I really want to mitigate. And I do a lot of personal issues or processes in order to mitigate that too. And so I want to make sure that those are held to those standards. To understand that the lot is going to be sold, understand, but to do it in the best environmentally, and thinking about those of us who have lived there for decades, and really, I've had my horse barn and kennel buildings for dogs and this and that for decades. I've actually worked on the quail, the Bob White relocation program, with another neighbor who was unable to attend this evening for reasons I've indicated earlier, that helped establish more populations of quail up and down those power line areas where I used to ride my horse, but we can't anymore. Just apparently motorcycles can, which confuses me. But, so these are things that I'm very concerned about. I know this is very preliminary, but I just wanted to at least be able to state that some of these concerns are definitely there, and I definitely watch, and hopefully this communication can continue. Thank you.
Okay. Is there anyone else from the public who would like to speak?
My name is Joe LeMay, and we have the property right here. Been there for the last 43 years. We have a flock of 29 turkeys, 6 females, and 23 kids. Anybody who lives on Meredith has had to stop for them. They migrate from Jamie Lane over here through my property, and they scratch up my potatoes every year. And then they go off in this direction. When they get into the woods, I don't know which way they go. The power lines is actually you see turtles there all the time. They somehow like to get out, I guess, the sunshine or something. We also have a flock of 4 deer. That was new to me this year. I don't know if anybody else has seen them, but they showed up in my backyard, and I went out and gave them some grain. And they were very timid, and they stayed 20 feet away from me, but they didn't run away. And in the last snowstorm, saw footprints from a male turkey, which is not part of that flock. And it went from across the street off in the same direction as the flock usually goes. So her concerns about corridor for the wildlife, I think that's something we should address. The turkeys, not so much, but I think the deer would prefer the woods rather than the houses, because they come to my back property, but they never come towards the house. As far as, later hearings, myself and the property across here, we've both been amateur astronomers for several decades. And so we're concerned about sources of light. Anytime you have a multi-unit dwelling, there always seems to be lights all around. And so that would have, when you have individual homeowners, they turn off their porch lights. They're paying the bill. But when you have a unit that's 4 units, 4 houses, there's always so much public lighting around it, so that would be a definite concern for the 2 astronomers here. I don't know if there's any other astronomers or people who enjoy the night darkness, but that would be, not for now, because this is, discussing purchasing the property, but at a later hearing, we would, want to discuss any kind of light control.
Thank you. Anybody else? Mr. McGrath?
I have been living in this town since November 1970. We are blessed in this town in that we own approximately 23% of our total land is open space. that is set aside. So, the other thing that we're blessed on is that no matter what, the density of wildlife is increasing and it is continuing to increase. For instance, we now have fisher cats, and in the last 3 or 4 years, 8 fisher cats have been run over on the town of Falmouth roads. There are much more predators than there ever been. I live in Pine Bay Estates, and we have turkeys and deer. One of the things that we should be very conscious of is this family has not developed their land. And so what we ought to be doing is trying to design this sensibly so they can get their return and they can develop this in such a way. As far as the box turtle is concerned, we all know that the Steamship Authority built a big parking lot out at Thomas Landers Road. When we did the first survey, we found something like 8 box turtles at the base of the fill at the Acme Cesspools former storage yard. So that project proceeded, and there was habitat set aside for the box turtle. But I've done other projects, and we consistently do find box turtles. So they may be an issue, they may be listed as a species of concern, and that's probably in the mainland of Massachusetts they should be worried, but they seemingly are common here. So we will listen to the comments, we will adjust the design, but basically, I will say that I have done in excess of 40 subdivisions in this town, and I live in a subdivision I designed, and we have as much wildlife as any subdivision. So we've listened to the things, we'll adjust the design, but my clients do deserve to be able to develop their land in a way that conforms with the bylaw. Thank you.
Yes, Doug?
It's too bad we don't get to review the site plans when Steamship Authority does their projects, because they're a government quasi-agency, and there's nothing we can do about it.
You're easy compared to National Heritage.
Yeah.
You're easy.
Good.
So,
Ask the, he's the boss.
Everybody else all set? Yes, go ahead, one more time, please.
I'm sorry, but I wanted to get back to the comment I just heard, and this is off the cuff. The subject just got moved to creatures that can walk out of the way from creatures that can't. There's a big difference. And the corridor is even more important to the little guys, and they're all important in this habitat. Birds not only just eat grain, they eat bugs and they eat ticks, okay? So, again, it's just a simple request to reconsider the slight modification, push out some of these perimeter lines. I could probably draw this myself. 25, we'd like a 50-foot buffer on the Meredith Drive side. I think the other side doesn't have to be adjusted proportionally, because I'm really not sure how many homes are there. I think there may be a bit of wildlife there. And the last thing I'd like to say in response to this comment is that don't forget, the Coonamessett Bog is just there. The animals are going to be fragmented. They're going to be trapped on the power line side of this map. We know some are going to get wiped out. That's a given. But what I'm saying is, let's not entrap them. They still have to go back and forth for eating in the summer, and they breed, and I think overwinter in the drier portions of the lot, exactly probably where they're going to be building. Okay? That's my comment.
I have a question, Brian. The plan doesn't reference any wildlife corridors or any restrictions that we've heard talked about tonight in the town. Is there anything, are we missing something here?
I don't know, Michael, is there a notation, marginal notation with regards to within the wildlife migration overlay district?
since it's become an issue, when we file a definitive, we'll show some areas that would be wildlife corridor.
Okay.
So it is required. I mean, there is a wildlife corridor in the area?
No,
No.
no, there's no wildlife corridor established.
Okay, so
But
you're
you have
gonna
a
make one.
provision that says we can place wildlife
Okay.
corridors on the plan.
Thank you.
Quick other matter, too, so the board knows, because if they're proposing multifamily development, you also perform a plan review, site plan review, on the quadplexes. An example of what the board did many, many years ago was Air Park subdivision back in 1986. There were quadplexes proposed. You actually get to review the lighting and some of the issues that have come up here tonight. So we'll schedule this for some sort of preliminary decision on the 26th.
Now, you say decision, is it a recommendation or decision we actually?
Recommendation.
Okay, yeah, I thought we just make a recommendation. So this is kind of like a friendly hearing. He brings it up to all of us, both our board and you, to let you know what's going on. Then he comes back with a real plan, and that's, so it's a multi-step process.
Correct.
So this is the proper way to do it, and getting everyone's input and getting the neighbors to understand what he's thinking about. And he's listened to you, and so have we. We all set?
Yeah.
Can we just ask one question?
Please do.
Sorry, I'm so sorry. I know you guys are probably tired of this.
No, not at all.
I just had a question. I mean, I really don't think that, I don't prefer having something like this. Who wants that in your backyard? You know, everybody learns about that. However, what are the size of each unit? I mean, how many homes, how many multifamily, what does that
Not on our
mean?
agenda.
Okay,
That's next.
okay, that's a real question for me, because
Another time.
that provides some of the impact too, and that's
Right,
why I'm
We're
asking
talking about the
that.
subdivision of the land right now.
Okay. No, I appreciate that. And then just to reiterate on some of the wildlife stuff, it's actually not true. Some of the wildlife corridors actually do need some of these motions, and no, the wildlife has actually fallen on the Cape, and predator increase is because they're actually dying on, because they don't have the wildlife or the wild areas in order to sustain themselves. And that's kind of a scientific fact, sorry. I don't mean to do that to you.
Okay.
I appreciate your work, I really do.
You know, living on Main Street, I just realized Main Street's a wildlife corridor for turkeys. I've lived here my whole life,
I'm done with the turkeys.
and I've just, it's unbelievable.
I've got pictures of 20 of them in my front yard.
70% of the time, when I come down Main Street early in the morning, they're at the crosswalk.
That's true.
Hey, at least they follow the rules.
Okay, ready to move on?
Now somebody's got their hand up.
One more, sorry. Please come up,
I just have a question for you, because I know you did well. So,
please come up and introduce yourself, and then ask your question.
I'm Cheryl Gregory. I live at 385 Sandwich Road, which is right here. And so my question to you was just that, you know, I wasn't going to bring it up now because you have all these other discussions, but is this road, you know, you would explain, you know, the amount of space that you would have allotted, and I assume it's under whatever laws there are, but all the natural buffers right through here, and their property. So I was just wondering, are you keeping that house for, I mean, I just wasn't sure why you would have it so close to the other, this side of the property. Does that make sense?
Yes. The design is to allow them to sell this separate from that. The house is not the best house. Most likely, it might be a tear down, a rebuild. But it was to get some income to the family early on.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Okay? One more, last one?
Some information. Please, one more question. I'm very familiar with the land because when I was a young tyke, I was an off-road runner. And used to run down to the bogs. What you have here is the old DuPont sand pit.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not a very pretty piece of land, and there's no wildlife in there. The development that came up off of John Parker has cut in behind here. So there's houses here and there.
We have an aerial picture depicting the
Yeah,
project.
so, but there is that one last piece of land that lets the animals get down to the bogs. So it's getting a little difficult for them. But, this property here used to be all wildlife, and that's been taken out, so. But that's just the DuPont sand pit. If someone filled that in and plant some trees in there, it'd be great.
Actually, the house has been built on that piece of land there at the end that you just pointed to.
Right here?
Yeah.
Big house.
Yep.
I know. That was the last time I could run down to the bogs when they put that foundation in. It's like, I can't go to the bogs
I know.
Okay. Yeah, we're moving on. The next item on the agenda is Falmouth Youth Hockey League. Site plan review to allow additional of 2,878 square feet of the ice arena building located at 9 Technology Park Drive, Falmouth. Engineering. For the applicant, notices, excuse me. Yeah, we should put it right on the agenda so I read notices every time. I make the mistake every hearing.
Mr. Chairman, nine abutters were notified by regular mail.
Mr. Chairman, just point of order, maybe the people that just spoke about this last issue would like to leave, and they don't have to stay here if they don't want to.
You're welcome.
But if they do, leave, would they please be quiet while you do leave?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. I'm Laura Moynihan, an attorney from Falmouth, and I represent the applicant, Falmouth Youth Hockey League, Inc. Just for disclosure purposes, I'm also a member of the board of directors of the applicant. Mike Borselli is the project engineer, and he's here tonight from Falmouth Engineering, and Paul Moore is here, who's the chairman of the Board of Governors for the Falmouth Ice Arena, which is the board that manages the ice arena. So I'll just make a few brief comments and then ask Mr. Borselli to present the plan to you. This is a modification of an existing site plan review decision from 2011, where the planning board approved the site plan for the construction of the ice arena itself. What the ice arena is looking to do is to add a one-story addition to the rear of the building. It's about 2,800 square feet to accommodate additional space for the gym that's there and being operated currently by Athletic Performance Training, or APT. As part of the addition, there would be a renovation of some of the existing interior gym space for an additional locker room to accommodate the junior hockey team that's currently playing out of the Falmouth Ice Arena, the Islanders team. And then additional space would be allocated within the addition itself to APT. It's basically a shell space. It's a wide open area with running turf that they'll use for training. The kids will be in there. This has become a relatively new thing with hockey and other sports programming, off-ice training. And Paul can talk a little bit more about that if you have interest in knowing more about that. The Cape Cod Commission has approved this modified plan as a modification to the Development of Regional Impact Decision, and you have that Cape Cod Commission approval in your file. They approved it as an administrative modification, given the very minor, obvious impacts from the addition. And it will require a modification to the zoning board special permit, and that hearing is set for May, so this will go to the zoning board as well for a public hearing for modification of the special permit. So that's all I have to say, and unless you have any questions about the regulatory issues, and I'll turn it over to Mr. Borselli for presentation of the plan. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, for the record, my name is Michael Borselli from Falmouth Engineering, and I represent the applicant. This property you have obviously reviewed before. We were the original site engineers and designers of the facility when it was permitted and constructed. The plan before you shows the overall property with the ice arena facility, the parking that's existing surrounding it, the solar panel superstructure over the parking. And then this side plan is a blow-up basically of the area of interest, which is this area at the back, very western side of the building. The proposed addition is basically 33 foot by 86 foot. It will be built as a connection to the building. There'll be interior connections for the uses that Laura described. It will be built in a place that is currently pavement. There's some parking where it is proposed, so there's no increase in impervious surfaces. The drainage system will continue to be adequate. The remaining infrastructure that serves the site is still more than adequate for the uses for the facility. There's two things that are basically impacted on the site that can be adjusted to accommodate the addition. One is a single leaching pit that is in conflict with the addition. That leaching pit serves the sole purpose of, it's an ice melt pit for the Zamboni. When they clean the ice, they put it in a vault and it gets melted and drained into that pit. So that's in conflict, so the plan is to just abandon or remove and abandon that one and build a new one just outside the building in this location. The only other thing that's impacted is some of the overflow parking at the rear of the building that is never really used by the general public will no longer be available. And there are some other parking spaces along the back edge of the existing parking lot that were traditional 90-degree parking spaces. There's now no longer backing distance for those spaces, so those have been changed to parallel parking, which will allow for the same width separation between the building and the parking spaces as exists today. So there will be a minor decrease in the parking spaces, from 320 spaces to 290 spaces. The parking on this site was designed in accordance with your bylaw, except you have one category called place of assembly, which is what this was designed for, and it's designed for the seating capacity of an event that would be a peak event that this facility would see, which would probably be a high school hockey game or some other event like that. And it was designed for that maximum peak, and even at that maximum peak, I don't think it's ever seen full capacity on the facility since it's been in operation for the last few years. So elimination of those few spaces doesn't impact the parking in any measurable way. I think that pretty much sums it up.
I have a question. On my review, it looks like the reason why you're here is because you're adding more than 1,000 square feet to an existing building, and that's it?
Yes.
You're not adjusting your parking, at least shown in the plan, except for the last part you said, but under all other situations, the lot coverage and everything, you're still well underneath what we required. Could you explain the last thing you said a little bit about, I'm not familiar with that, the place of assembly requirement for parking. Does that change the 217 requirement we see in this plan?
No. You have a table of parking requirements in 240-109, and it categorizes based on uses like retail space, office space, restaurants, and this one fits the category place of assembly.
Okay, now I see it. big numbers there. I got it.
Yeah, so we use
This
that as a guideline, and then we have more than we,
You don't design churches for Easter Sunday, I got you. I got it.
one other thing, there was a comment from the engineering staff I just wanted to address. There was a question about this adjustment to the leaching pit for the ice melt, and whether or not that would have an impact on the existing septic system. There's certain setbacks to drainage systems and septic systems. There's a separation of 10 feet from drainage systems to septic tanks, and there's a separation of 25 feet from drainage systems to septic system leaching systems. The septic system for the facility is up in this corner, and it was originally designed to meet those setbacks, and adjusting it like this continues to maintain those setbacks, more than maintains those setbacks. So there was a memo from, I think it was Scott Schluter, about, he had a question on that. We responded to him in writing, but I didn't mention it to you.
So that's one of the open items, is because of coastal ponds and septic system?
Oh, I don't think it has anything to do with coastal ponds. It was just simply, he was concerned that we weren't putting this drainage in a place where it would not meet those Title V requirements for separation from drainage. That was all it was about.
I see that wildlife corridor is an open item, and I'm just wondering why, because it's south of where the proposed addition is going to be. I don't see where wildlife corridor is impacted at all by this.
I think that those were checked off just to indicate that we're in a coastal pond overlay district, and it was being pointed out by planning board staff that we are, and that we are in a wildlife corridor area. The wildlife corridor that was shown on the plan originally continues to be shown, and it's obvious that adding this addition in an area that's paved doesn't have any effect on it.
Doug?
I've been to some larger events there, and I agree with you, there's always seems to be enough parking, but I wonder why wouldn't you consider just pushing that parking back and keep it oriented the original way, and maybe permeable pavers there or something? Because the reason I ask is, will this facility have its own separate entrance?
Maybe Laura can answer that.
It does have its own separate entrance. Currently, it's right in this area here. I think the thought was, originally the parking was laid out here vertically, and it was thought because of the building going into that driveway area that you'd have backing out that was in the proximity to the building would be too close.
Right, and
So-
I agree with that, but I was thinking that since how that's going to be its own facility, you might want some more parking closer to the building itself, but
Typically, the users of this, if they're not in the ice arena already, park right here.
so it's at the end anyway.
Yeah.
Okay.
And this parking area is rarely used. It really, the people that are coming in that aren't parking here and going in the building into the gym are parking in this area here.
So
And
you're going
there's,
to use an existing entrance to just reorient the area?
yes. So right now, the gym area is approximately in this sort of model, if you model this rectangle, and the entrance is here. And what will happen is about half of that existing area, or a third of it, will become the new locker room space. And then this portion will be gym, and then this will be the additional training area. So it is, so that'll work out very well for the new locker room, which the ice arena is in need of. There'll be a coach's office in there, as well as showers.
Paul?
I had a question about spacing. You're narrowing the roadway on the west side of the building there. Is that sufficient for emergency vehicles and possible truck deliveries and whatnot to get completely around the building?
It'll stay at 24 feet, which is the current width, and that, again, was the issue with modifying this to the parallel so that we could maintain the existing width of 24 feet. So,
But the cars are parked in parallel fashion. It's no longer 24 feet.
well, it's 24 feet right to the outer edge of the parallel spaces. So we don't,
There's a dimension on here, that's why I asked.
yeah, thank you. We don't anticipate that there's going to be any issue.
It's in the blowout.
Yeah. with that. And that was, again, the reason for orienting the parking that way.
Everybody all set here? Yes, Ralph?
Yes, Ms. Moynihan, why is a special permit required here from the Board of Appeals?
The building is in excess of 10,000 square feet, so the bylaw requires a special permit for any non-residential use in excess of 10,000 square feet. So the original construction required a special permit, and this requires a modification to that special permit.
Okay, thank you.
Doug?
So I'm sorry, it's probably written here, what's the total number of spaces lost?
We were at 320, and we're down at 299, so overall it's about 21. Yeah.
Anybody else? Okay, any questions from members of the public on this?
Are we discussing tonight? or
No,
just-
it's a site plan review.
So we'll schedule for the 26th for a decision.
Right. So we, okay, we keep it. Next item on the agenda, planning board decision. Sandlin Family Trust, WHS and KPKS Revocable Trust, and Wayne Sandlin et al. Preliminary plan to divide properties of the Sandlin family into 9 new lots. The properties presently comprise 2 lots on map 39A, 26000, 574 and 572 and 574. BSS Design.
And Mr. Chairman, just for your record, there are 2 late letters that came in from applicant's attorney and Attorney Kirk, who is representing some of the folks on Cypress Street. Just want to let you know that they're there and that you may want to acknowledge those letters here tonight and before your motion. That's up to the board.
Did I see,
It should be in your brown pack. Please tell me
I
that.
was looking for the correspondence file.
It should be in your brown.
Usually in that purple folder.
Your purple folder is for general correspondence.
So these are specific to this letter.
Specific to the application.
Okay.
Just so you're aware of, on a preliminary basis, some of the issues.
Should we be reading this out loud?
It's a letter to the board. I'm just reading it because I just was made aware of it tonight, so
Okay.
For the
give me a
consumption
minute
of
to
the
catch
board.
up. I'm going as fast as I can.
And there's a letter from Attorney in there, too.
Okay. Looking to see if you're looking, I haven't, you got to read the decision, the draft decision?
Happy to read it.
Okay, Pat, would you please do that?
Okay. I move that the planning board vote the following findings and recommendations to address the issues raised under the subdivision regulations of the town of Falmouth. Article 3, preliminary plans, for a plan entitled Preliminary Subdivision Plan prepared for Sandlin Family Trust, Mara Vista, Falmouth, Massachusetts, prepared by BSS Design, Inc., dated March 1st, 2016, revised March 16th, 2016, and April 1st, 2016, scale 1 inch equals 40 feet. Findings. Planning board held public meetings on this application on March 22nd, March 29th, and April 12th, 2016, where the applicant and members of the public were allowed to address the board and offer their comments, concerns, and ideas. The board also undertook a site visit to better understand the road width, paving issues, drainage, and proposed cul-de-sac radius for lots 1, 2, and 3 on Cypress Street. The board thanks everyone for their participation. The revised plans dated April 1st, 2016 have taken into account the recommendations of the planning board that address the proposed T-turnaround for access to lots 1, 2, and 3 within a cul-de-sac area with a radius of 60 feet. This revision allows the drainage located in Lot 1 to be moved to the expanded road layout. The plan also takes into account water service to lots 8 and 9 on Cedar Street within a 10-foot wide easement through Lot 7. Water Superintendent Steve Rafferty has acknowledged that a line for municipal water may run across private property through an easement across Lot 7. Lots 1 and 2 are within conservation jurisdiction and will require permitting for any new construction. Recommendations. A list of waivers from the planning board's rules and regulations governing the subdivision of land must be included as part of the definitive plan application. 2, the planning board recommends the applicant and design team work with neighbors to address concerns while finalizing the paving details for Cypress Street. 3, as a standard condition for a definitive plan, the applicant must apply as a modification to a previous decision showing the abandonment of Little Bay Street along Little Pond between lots 24, 573, 2, and 1. 4, parcels A and B must be merged with lot 573 for the definitive plan. 5, the board is inclined to approve the proposed 18-foot pavement width for Cypress Street, and the applicant can show this on the definitive plan. As is true for all preliminary plans, the board reserves the right to alter its thinking as the public hearing process evolves. 6, the engineering division will require drainage calculations for the proposed stormwater management system for the definitive plan. 7, town engineering would like to see more detail in regards to the proposed berm at the end of Cypress Street. The berm must be designed to allow for snow plowing, drainage, and access to the unpaved part of Cypress Street. 8, Falmouth Fire and Rescue recommends the addition of a fire hydrant approximately 1/2 to 3/4 of the way down Cedar Street, heading west. The location of the nearest existing hydrant to the lots on Cedar Street should be shown on the definitive plan. The applicant is encouraged to meet with the FF&R department.
Falmouth Fire and Rescue.
Right.
I would second that motion.
Discussion? Yes, Ralph?
I recall that the public comment from Mr. McGrady was that the street is dark and there's no street light there, and he suggested that there be a street light at the end of the road. So I would move that we add item number 9 to the recommendations, that the planning board suggests the installation of a streetlight at the end of Cypress Street, at the dead end of Cypress Street, or in the proximity of the cul-de-sac on Cypress Street.
Is that a motion, Ralph?
Yeah, I did make a motion. I believe I said.
I'll second.
Okay.
Just a question on that. Are you suggesting about the entrance over here at the cul-de-sac? Is that where you're suggesting it
Said
be?
either at the end of the street or in the proximity of the cul-de-sac.
Okay. Any discussion on that motion anymore? All in favor?
Aye.
Abstain.
Okay.
I got a question. Mr. Bunker's not here, is he? The drawings say that there's 200 PSI water services. I don't think they're 200 PSI.
Well, again, Paul, it's a preliminary plan, it's probably a scrivener's error. If it's 200 PSI, we can all take showers and put the
I think it's
sprinklers
off by a
on.
factor of 10.
So we'll check that for you.
I have a question, I just wanted the other board members' opinion. We comfortable with leaving this dirt road? I'm worried about erosion and
Well,
over time.
we saw that it didn't work when we had that same problem last year or the year before, and we ended up taking out a section of asphalt, right? Because it created more problems than.
That's why I'm asking the question from prior experience. I was just wondering if anyone else remembered it being the same. I'm not comfortable with it, but I wanted to hear what you all said.
I'm encouraged by these letters that neighbors are taking an interest, and they might converge to discuss with the applicant about working together to rectify the road situation, because I don't think it's very good right now. And it's an attempt to catch the drainage, but I think that once it's paved, the drainage is going to be more than can be controlled by just pitching the road. I'm not an engineer, but it just doesn't seem the best.
Neither am I. I have experience with the house on the other end of Cypress Street where the water flows into the house. Down the road, there's so much water, it keeps going, it goes right into the house. So I have concerns about it. I wanted to see what anyone else thought. Yes, Ralph?
Well, it appears that the drainage for the paved portion is going to be captured before it reaches the dirt portion.
Yes,
Mr. Bunker
with
said
buffers
that
and swales.
that was the case, so I don't see an issue about erosion.
I saw the same details on the plan that we looked at a few years ago with a vegetated swale doing the same thing. So I'm just asking questions on it. I'm not sure. Are you comfortable with it though, Ralph? Do you think it's?
I'm comfortable with what he proposed, yes.
I think it's unusual that the berm is across the middle of the road, especially given that that's the top of a hill. And I think that the fire department pointed out that it's maybe questionable for their plowing. I mean, not the fire department, but the DPW. And the other thing is that it's right at the top of the hill there that if you do have any kind of runoff, especially in a heavy rain, it's going to get worse. So I think it's going to be a problem myself. I mean, I can't say it, like I said, I'm not an engineer, but it just doesn't seem like it's the best.
I have a question. Did we ever finish the vote on the motion? We kind of
For the
got
street
twisted
lights?
here.
Streetlights.
Yes.
Yeah, we did.
We did.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
We didn't have any opposed.
You never said
You
opposed.
didn't ask about it.
You did, I did not vote.
Okay, he abstained.
But
Okay.
you never
okay,
asked.
Excuse me.
And I am opposed to it.
Okay.
Yes, we didn't finish
Pardon
that
me.
vote. So we got.
Then we
right
haven't
into
finished
question.
yet, so we have,
We should start that over.
we'll start the vote over again, sorry about
We didn't really
that.
have discussion on the motion either.
I thought we did. Ralph, could you make your motion again, please?
The motion's on the table, that's
It's on the
fine.
table.
Okay.
Well, from where I'm sitting, there was a motion, a second, and a vote, but I will read it again. I move that we add number 9 to the recommendations to the applicant, that a street light be installed, that they consider being a street light be installed at the end of the dead-end portion of Cypress Street or in the proximity of the cul-de-sac.
Okay, and I seconded for discussion purposes.
All in favor?
No, we need discussion.
Okay, discussion, excuse me. Further discussion, go ahead, Pat.
Okay, the reason that I am opposed to it is that maybe my memory doesn't serve me correctly. There was some concern about it being very dark down at the end of the street, but there was also concern that they didn't want a huge bright street light, unless I'm really wrong in what I'm remembering, which is possible. And so there was some kind of discussion about some low-lying right there to provide a little bit of illumination so that it wouldn't be completely dark. Because it is a very rural street, and they just didn't, again, my recollection, they didn't want the huge street light.
Any more discussion?
That was kind of my concern. I mean, I don't think we should put something, a criteria in there that, maybe that's something that the neighbors need to more discuss. It's this being a definitive plan. I just question if we should put that directly, saying that it has to have one.
Or maybe we should say they could consider some form of lighting.
I myself don't like a lot of lighting, and if I was a neighbor, I wouldn't want a street outside of my house, but that was just my opinion, so I'm sorry. Everyone has their own opinion, though.
Well, no, mine is essentially the
Same
same thing, yeah. And
Oh,
that's,
you mean you don't like it at all here?
if there were to be any down
Okay.
towards the end of the street, it would be
I got you.
a low-lying sort of light instead of a tall light on a street pole.
So do you want to amend Ralph's motion, or do we want to just vote on his motion?
I can amend it, but it seemed to have had a lot of support, though, too. So we should just vote on it and see what.
It's a preliminary plan.
It's a preliminary plan. So why don't we just say the applicant should
Yeah.
investigate the need
Yeah, this preliminary
for
plan.
some form of illumination, either at the dead end or at the cul-de-sac.
We're
Yes.
just supposed to give them feedback. We're gonna have a chance to condition this again another time, so I think
So
we're
it might
bringing
be,
it hard here.
it might be a 4,000 lumen Cobra head, teasing, or it could be some of those times that the planning board has had those little post lamps
Right.
that fit into a residential neighborhood.
Right.
So some form of illumination that satisfies the board's concerns with regards to illuminating the road might be a good suggestion for the applicant.
So how do you want us to handle the motion that's on the
Well,
floor?
I don't think we even have to.
Ralph's motion says the planning board suggests some sort of streetlight at the dead end, that it should consider it. So I think that absorbs a whole range
Okay.
of alternatives. I don't want you guys to start
We're not
dictating.
conditioning this yet.
So I think it's, I'll talk with the applicant, I think we have a sense of the board that, we should be investigating this with the design engineer.
Okay.
But you
I'd
don't
I'd like
probably
to
want a
see
big,
some
huge-
further discussion or have them make it clear about the drainage.
Do we have to take a vote on that motion?
It's a preliminary plan. Do we have to vote everywhere?
Yes, you
Because there's a
do.
motion on the floor.
It's a motion.
Yes, there's a decision of the board. You have a motion that's, the planning board suggests that they consider some form of street light, either at the dead end or at the cul-de-sac.
So we're amending Ralph's motion, is that okay, Ralph?
No,
Okay.
So Ralph's-
I'm not amending my motion,
Right.
Okay.
but I would like to make another comment.
But Ralph's, I think Ralph's motion satisfies what the board has been concerned about, that the applicant has a range of alternatives. But Ralph's motion isn't saying put in a 4,000 lumen Cobra head. It's
No, I
saying,
didn't.
look at some sort of illumination or street lighting at those two locations. That's all. So I think
Okay, I guess we need to vote then. We have
Ralph's got a comment.
more, another
I
comment?
just want to remind the board that that was the only comment from public comment was made from a person who lived on the street,
Yes.
okay?
Okay, so we're voting on Ralph's motion to make sure they consider lighting of some sort on this plan.
Add number 9 recommendation.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? One abstained. Thank you, that was a little harder, I'm sorry I wasn't so clear on that. I thought it was preliminary planning, we were just, they're gonna listen to what we
So
said.
if I suggest, then, just to address Doug's concern on your number 6 point, you might, it says the engineering division requires drainage calculations for the proposed stormwater management system for the definitive plan. You may want to add your guidance there that the board has concerns based on some past experiences with other subdivisions of similar designs, and if the applicant should pay particular attention to the stormwater management in that area. That's all.
Paul, you had another comment?
Yeah, we talked a little bit about the drainage down that street, Cypress Street. I was also uncomfortable with the berm on the middle of the road, tilting the road toward 2 drainage areas, but Mr. Bunk explained that, and I think that could work. But beyond that point, it's about 150 feet to the 2 homes that are down there, and it looks like it's about a 5-foot drop in that area. I would like the developer to at least consider in some fashion paving that area to the 2 properties further down, because there is quite a drop, and it's only 150 feet. And whether he does or he works something out with the property owners, I think he should at least consider that.
And associated drainage.
Okay. Do you want to make that, we need to vote on that as well, Brian? Or we'll just get the comments?
Well, right now, under recommendations number 5, the board's inclined to approve the 18-foot way on Cypress Street. In that recommendation, you may want to also offer as a motion, Paul, your comment that you should maybe want to consider the pavement down to the end of the way at the time of definitive plan application. In other words, that's the place to put your concern and recommendation, if you want to make that as a motion.
Sure, I'll make a motion
I'll second it.
that the developer consider.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Let him do it first.
Hey.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I'll make a motion that the developer consider paving a section of roadway, unpaved roadways beyond the berm to cover the driveways for the 2 adjoining properties.
I'll second it.
Further discussion?
Do we need to say and associated drainage?
Say which?
And associated drainage, you accept that?
Well, he could just have a swell going down, so it would...
That's part of it.
Yeah.
That's associated drainage.
Yeah.
So we're going to add
That's fine.
associated drainage.
You can add that.
Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
1 opposed, 1 abstained. Okay,
I got another question.
Yes,
for
go
you.
ahead.
On number 8, the fire department is recommending the addition of a fire hydrant. Is that is that just their decision? Do we consider that as a recommendation, or is that going to be a condition?
I don't usually try to think we know more than the fire department on fire
Right.
protection, so we usually take them, unless you have another opinion.
I don't. I'm just curious, if that was going to be discussed. It seems that it wouldn't be in their best interest to have to do fire hydrant and run the utility lines across easements, so it should be.
Well, they could come back and change it. This
One or
is
the
a
other.
preliminary plan,
Right.
right?
Right, your recommendation is the applicant to go meet with the fire department, find the
Work
nearest
it out.
hydrant, see if that might satisfy requirements, go from there.
Right, it's one or the other.
Right.
And I drove around, and the hydrant placement is kind of erratic. It's not like they have one on every street. And there is one at the top of the street, so I don't know.
Okay. So this is our preliminary decision. I think we've given them enough to handle it for now. Move on to the next agenda item.
You need to vote the main motion.
Vote the main motion.
Main motion
Okay.
has not been voted.
Main motion
As amended.
as amended. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Abstain.
And one abstain. All right. Next decision, applicant Pier 37, Inc. Site plan review to enlarge existing outdoor deck, enclosed porch, and remove some parking and replace with pervious coverage at 88 Scranton Ave, BSS Design. Yes, you can read it, Pat.
I move that the planning board vote to approve the application of Falmouth Pier 37 Inc. under Article 39, site plan review of the zoning bylaw for a plan entitled Proposed Deck Expansion at the Boathouse Restaurant on Pier 37, 88 Scranton Avenue, Falmouth, Massachusetts, prepared by BSF Design, dated February 22nd, 2016, revised March 21, 2016, and April 6, 2016. Scale 1 inch equals 20 feet with the following conditions. 1, the plan shall be constructed as approved. Any changes shall be reviewed by the planning board to determine if a modification of this decision is necessary. Pursuant to section 240-183B of the zoning bylaw, no permit for full or partial occupancy shall be issued until the planning board is satisfied that the conditions of this approval have been met. 2, prior to the issuance of a building permit, the applicant shall apply for a curb opening permit from the engineering division. All work in the public layout shall be performed under the direction of the town engineer. 3, the revised plans show landscaping features located within the Scranton Avenue right-of-way, which is a public right-of-way. This work will require filing a permit with the engineering division. The site distance in relation to the proposed dunes and timber planter heights is of concern and will require more detail when filing for the permit.
Second that motion.
Further discussion? Ralph?
Yes, the initial site plan staff report had a lot of open items. Just want to make sure that that all of those items have been addressed. Brian?
Yes, Scott Schluter, when I looked at the plans, there's several memos, and I believe everything's been, that this board can address has been addressed, Ralph, yes.
Okay. Thank you.
I had a question about the existing signage that was on the site. Has that been addressed at all, Brian? When I visited the site, there was a empty ladder sign there, just standing there with nothing there at all. Have they done anything with that?
Well, the board doesn't regulate signs.
Well, it's shown on our plan, so I was asking what they were doing.
I think it's there for your information, but you don't regulate signs. We have a sign bylaw in the general fund.
It's touching the landscaping. We get to say anything about landscaping?
You can add a condition that the signs shall not interfere with the landscaping, I suppose. But
Okay.
it's there for your information, but you don't regulate the sign.
Well, I guess my question for the other board members, I wanted to, do you guys feel that this is enough landscaping for this site? Right.
Given what it is.
Yeah, you're not gonna change landscaping, you'd have to lose more than they already did, so. They did reduce it, the area, by not
A
much.
slight reduction, so it's an improvement.
Yes, it is an improvement.
It's a nice use of, double use on the parking. As long as it's getting better, right?
Fraction at a time.
Well, it's a very intensely used parcel in the heart of our town, and they have about 2% landscaped. I was just asking a question, I'll leave it at that. Yes, go ahead.
Just for fun, did you want to shrink wrap the sign, or just kidding, Jim? Just
No,
kidding.
have you seen it, Ralph?
No,
walk by it every day.
I have not seen it.
I walk by it every day, I just, I find it, maybe we should put that, the sign, recommend, we'd like to see, well, that's up to the sign review committee to deal with
Yep.
that.
You put something here you recommend that.
Yes, I'd like to see the sign review committee, or the design review committee that does signs, give us a
Right.
recommendation of what they think for that sign.
No.
No. Well, this is final, right? So,
We don't deal with signs, so their recommendation doesn't work. Doesn't matter, you don't have a right to look at signs on this board.
okay. All right, we'll let it go. I was just making an observation I guess I don't have the right to make.
Exactly.
You don't regulate signs, that's.
It's a beautiful sign.
So we gotta take a vote.
Yes, well, we've read the motion, are we all in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Unanimous, thank you.
Okay.
Moving on. And do we have no general correspondence?
Not this week.
I have a question about correspondence. Can I ask a question? So when we get a letter at the last minute from an applicant that they feel it may be important, what's our guideline for that?
It's a preliminary plan. And when folks have gone to the trouble of hiring an attorney, and the attorney just wants to give the board a little information, my recommendation is always, well, here's your letter, read it. Okay, so noted. Off you go on your decision. But as a courtesy to, the applicants and to the abutters, take it into consideration. If it were a definitive plan,
No, what, we wouldn't accept the letter?
Once the record's closed, you're at the decision, but point, you're done.
But what if the record's still open and it was a similar situation as tonight? Are we somehow obliged to read that out loud if we're asked to include it?
No, it's for you.
It's just for our information.
For your information, you make decisions, public record, people who want to read it later can get copies, but it's not a back and forth, it's for the board, it's for your consumption.
I found it helpful because there was a question I was going to ask and it was answered in one of those letters.
Right.
And I thought it was good to get the letter.
I agree, but my question is that they wanted it in the letter, so we asked that this be included. So I didn't know if they were trying to ask us to read it or
You didn't have.
just to understand it, I guess.
Understand it. You didn't have to read it, you chose to. I just point out that it's in your files, it's for you, it's for your consumption. You can look at it and say it's too late, it's too early, so noted, thank you. But you took the time, you wrote, thank you, off you go.
Okay.
Especially for preliminary subdivision plans, where it's a fairly informal process.
Right.
Site plans, special permits, definitive plans, it's a hearing process and you follow the rules.
They'll have the opportunity to bring up those issues if they want to at the
Right.
definitive plan.
Right.
So, I mean, we don't have to do their work for them, they can come again. I read it, did you see it?
I did read it.
No, did you see it? It was
No,
informative.
it was good, it was encouraging, and
Yeah.
it was informative.
Jim?
Yes.
My speculation is that if someone submits a letter to us at the last minute, they might be worried about the fact that we didn't read it. And so they ask it to be read into the record, which guarantees that everybody at least hears the letter. So that could be
Right.
one of the reasons why
But this is
this person
preliminary.
would.
This is not the last minute, though.
That has nothing to do with
Okay,
it.
understand.
My point is whether or not they want the board to read or at least hear what the letter said. And that would be a way for them to guarantee that we read it, because you had to read it. So did I when I sat down here.
Right.
And and if I had said, I don't have time to read this, then I wouldn't have read it.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to ask a question. Protocol, if it's a hearing and the public comment has been closed, we would not read a letter.
Of course, never.
Right.
Right.
But this hearing's keeping going, it's just.
No, I just
Just on a
wanted to
different-
ask that.
There are times when you have a hearing, very strict. There are times when you don't have hearings, A&R plans. Someone wants to bring you a letter, make a presentation, it's not a hearing. You have a plan, you go out and look at it, it's a discussion amongst the board. Period. Because the abutters aren't notified. It's in your opinion only. That's when someone says, giving it the last minute thing, no. But preliminary plans, the more information, the better.
Well, I guess, I'm sorry, if you really think we should read them as preliminary plans, I would do it. I just wanted to keep moving.
No, I was just curious about the procedure.
Well, I
We
didn't
did
do
the
it
right
because
thing.
it's preliminary, and I thought we'd have plenty of time, and if they really want to bring the issues up, they can do it at the next hearing.
I was actually more considering not just on a preliminary, but just in general.
In general, okay.
What's our liability? Do we really, when they ask us to read it into the record, do we have to or not?
It's not a hearing.
That's all I wanted to know.
Okay, fine. All right, future agenda items.
I got one.
Yes.
In light of our town voting to put affordable housing in a flood zone that's going on property purchased by the town, I'd like to explore a bylaw similar to Chatham's Conservancy bylaw that prohibits development in such areas, in flood zones or velocity zones. And they restrict everybody, private, public. I think we should at least take a step and do it as a public entity, that we, as a town, do not develop or promote development in these types of zones. In fact, I think we should look at purchasing these lands to keep them from being developed. So I'd like to just, kind of toss that around, see what we could come up with, because obviously, people still think it's the 60s and feel it's okay to build in floodplains and in wetlands and fill wetlands and build on, and I don't think that's right.
That's a good future agenda item. We don't want to go too far in the discussion, but we can put that on for another agenda item, Brad? Okay. Doug, do you have another one?
No, I'm just saying that now that town meeting's over, we'll probably be able to get coastal resiliency on our agenda.
Yeah.
We've already passed coastal resiliency.
Well, we're waiting to talk with the conservation people. Do they have any response?
I did have a conversation with Jen McKay, and we will be trying to get something together, a coordination meeting soon, and then something after the election, probably in early June.
Okay.
Is what we're shooting for, then meet with the selectmen in July and the zoning board in August. That's my plan.
Yes, Paul?
The meeting, next meeting, the 26th, Woods Hole Group is going to come and give a very brief presentation of some of the work they're doing in modeling for the state DOT. And I'll be happy to get some information to you before the meeting.
Excellent. It'd be nice to
I saw, we'll talk about it at that meeting. We'll wait till it's on the agenda. I have comments on it too, but I'm very interested in what they have to say and what their model would show.
Put it on the agenda.
It is. It is on the agenda, right?
For the 26th, yeah. Woods Hole Group.
We don't need to put it
I did confirm with them that they are available to come.
Good.
That, next meeting, April 26th? Do we have one before that?
It's school vacation week, and some folks are going to be out of town.
Spring
and
break.
Spring break and whatnot, so we put it off a week, Jim, so we get Woods Hole, and Woods Hole Group couldn't be on the 19th,
They can only do it on the 26th.
Right.
So we got a couple weeks off here.
So you got 1 week off.
Just two.
That's what I just said, 2 weeks off.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Yeah, everything has to go to the planning staff. He has to judge whether or not it's pornographic.
Last couple times I tried to get up. I didn't feel like I could make it.